Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mental Health Warrior. I'm super excited today. We got the Faceman on from Veterans Trash Talk that's joining us today. Sorry that we got a little bit started late today. We're having some windy weather out here in Virginia, and our producer, Chris, his power blinked out, so we had to reboot stuff. So I apologize for that. Hope everybody's having a great day and looking forward to the weekend coming up. Should be a nice weekend, at least here in Virginia. It's going to be warm, so really looking forward to that. So I hope everybody's having a great time. The show today is going to be really fun. It's going to be exciting. But first, before I dive into that, as you guys know, Wreaths Across America has now running my podcast on their radio show. So the Mental Health Warrior is available on Wreaths Across America Radio. It's super easy to find. It airs on Friday at 8 p.m. and Sunday at 10 p.m. And you can just go on your iHeart Radio app, your Audacy app, your TuneIn app. You just search Wreath, not Reese, Wreath, and then it'll come up Wreaths Across America, and then you can like and follow my podcast. Just so you know, they are running about 4 episodes behind of what you see. So today's episode probably won't play for about 4 weeks. So they're just playing catch up right now. So that's really awesome. But along with that, you can support Wreaths Across America by donating wreaths. And we've had some people that's gone out there. I myself had bought 5 wreaths the other day. It's a great organization. It's amazing, what they do to ensure that veterans out there that have gone on, has, that wreath on their gravesite, during Christmas. And it's really an awesome program that they do. But here I got to put my glasses on. But we had a business, Go Solar Virginia. They donated 20 wreaths. So big shout out to them, to Danny. If you are in the DMV area and you're looking at putting solar on your house, Danny installed the solar and the Tesla Powerwall at my house. I've had solar now for 2 years and the Powerwall for almost a year. It's been awesome. I've not paid an electric bill, only the taxes. But feel free to give him a call at 540-466-42222. I'll put that in the comments after the show if anybody's interested. And also, we'll throw the link up there. The link also supports our podcast and Veterans Trash Talk with what we do. We get a small percentage, very small, but with those wreaths that you buy, that does help us continue with our mission, with bringing mental health and awareness and giving veterans really that safe space where they can go and talk with their issues and problems. But hey, with that, if some of my viewers don't know who the Faceman is from Veterans Trash Talk, Dave, welcome to the show. And if you wouldn't mind, just give me a quick introduction to yourself in case they don't know you. And I can't imagine nobody not knowing who you are.
Yeah, who doesn't know the Faceman? No, I appreciate you having me on, man. I know we've talked about it for 6 months now, or 7 months, probably even longer. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm the Faceman. All right. Obviously this beautiful face. I've been with Veteran Trash Talk. I'm one of the co-founders. We started about 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
And then obviously, our platform has blown up. Cliff has partnered with us, and we're just, keep doing our thing, raising awareness for mental health, try to curb that suicide pandemic, because there's not an answer for everything. You can't just fix it with one fix. There's multiple fixes, and building a community essentially like VTT official, where brothers and sisters can, post at 2:00 in the morning and say, hey, I'm going through an issue, and the entire community springs into action. Things like that is what helps curb, the suicide pandemic. And it's been a fun ride, man. We have a blast. I know I can't cuss today, so I got to watch myself.
Yeah, no cussing.
No cussing. So Chris is already in the background waiting to bleep everything out,
Yeah. Well, it's a good problem. But, you bring up an important thing, and that's one thing I talk about a lot on my show is, having different tools in the toolbox. Because, when a situation happens and you never know, you never know how that situation is going to affect you. So the more different tools you have, the better are you to deal with it. And, one of the things I talked about this week, if you've been listening to my mental health minutes that I do, that gets posted on VTT every day, and then I share it on my page, is Monday, I think it was Monday night, or maybe Sunday, I don't know which day it is. But anyway, because I'm retired now, so I just
retired life, huh?
Today and night. I don't care about what the date is, time, or anything, unless I gotta get Lloyd. And just so you guys don't know, Dave was recently married, and he just recently got his DD 214, so he's on terminal leave right now. Yeah. After what was it, 22 years in the service?
20 years. 20 years and 8 days.
20 years and 8 days. Yeah, so I mean, you almost made a career out of it, I only did 34, so with that
34. I couldn't go anymore. I just didn't have the energy, like it was the best. If somebody asked me, would you do it all over again? I 100% would, but I just didn't have the energy, and I feel like I mean, you reach that point.
Everybody says that, when it's time. I knew it.
When it's time. And I feel like, I could have went maybe 3-4 more years, maybe made Sergeant Major, probably would have made Sergeant Major, but I would have done a disservice to all the soldiers that I was serving with, because if you don't have the energy, what does that do to your leadership and applying that leadership to your soldiers and everything? So it was just, it was time to hang it up.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I talk about is I turned down promotion to W5 and I was number 1 on the list and in the slot, and they gave me the call and I'm like, nah, I think I'm good. And people say, well, what happened? I was like, COVID killed my career. After spending a year home with the boys, I lost, like you said, you lose the passion for it and you just realize there's other things that you want to do. Yep. And, I came on your guys' show, Veterans Trash Talk, over a year ago, as, because I have my other business, Clip Bomb and Story of Hope, because I'm a suicide survivor. And, it's funny because then one night Nick calls me and says, hey, you ever think about doing a podcast? And then I started doing the podcast. Now I'm over, a year and 3 months now with the podcast. And it's really, really awesome. And so thankful for Wreaths Across America to have them on the radio now. It just gives a larger audience and more veterans that we can reach out to and try to get that help. But, before we dive into what I was talking about with my mental health minutes. So, it's kind of interesting because most people do their career in the military and then they're married and they get out. You kind of did it opposite. You got married as you were getting out. I mean,
crazy how that works, huh?
How long have you and Megan been dating? You guys been dating for a while.
We've been together now for close to 5 years.
Oh, okay, yes.
And then we were both previously married. I was married for 14. Shout out to my ex-wife, Amy. It just wasn't working, but we have a big blended family. We go on vacations together. She'll be there, the kids, her boyfriend. I could talk an hour about that type of stuff, blended families, because it's important,
we have a blended family.
It's important for the kids. Yeah. And all my kids live with us here in Arizona, so I'm really blessed when it comes to that. So, my ex-wife, she dealt with most of my career. Megan always says she got the golden days, the last, 5 years of my career in recruiting as a first sergeant, no deployments, none of that. Yeah. So, but
that's life, right?
Sometimes it's life.
But it is, it's not without challenges. Correct. My oldest son is from previous marriage and wasn't as cohesive as it could have been. So it was not a good situation. He was abused and some other things, but we never, when I got full custody of Junior, we never shunned him from seeing his mom. Good. So it was his decision, how much or how less he saw her. It was his choice. And so we never interfered with that or got into that. We never talked poorly of her or anything like that, because it doesn't do anything other than hurt the child. And so it's really important that you have that type of relationship, and it's better for the children. And Junior's off to college now. He got into Hampton-Sydney, which is a very prestigious college. Yeah. So he's finishing up his first year there. I think they were founded in 1775. So I think it's one of the 10th oldest private college university in America. And they have a less than 29% acceptance rate. And he got full ride scholarships.
Damn.
That's almost a $70,000 a year school. So kudos to him. Because he'd been going to Nova. He'd been going to Nova here in Virginia with nothing wrong with that, but because it would have been free because I'm 100% from the VA. But hey, listen, guys, as we're talking and we kind of got off on a tangent there, but, one thing I've been talking about with the mental health minutes is you never know what you're going to do when you get that phone call. And Dave, you understand what happens. And so what spurred me to start talking about this, because I never know what I'm going to talk about on the show, but I had a good friend of mine 2 years ago. We went to school with, he was quite a bit younger than I am, but I've known him ever since he was 2 years old. And he wound up joining the service and he was having a lot of issues. And I got a phone call. Well, first of all, another friend of mine called and says, hey, have you talked to Tad? That was his nickname. And I said, no, I haven't talked to him. Well, they gave me his phone number. Nobody's been able to get a hold of him. And of course, Tad knows I'm a suicide survivor and stuff. And this is what happened 2 years ago. And so I was able to get a hold of him. And he was actually, he had done a Facebook Live video, which I didn't see, but apparently he was in a vehicle with a gun to his head. And nobody could find out where he was at. They couldn't find his location. And so thank God I called him and he picked up the phone. And of course, I was able to talk to him and find out his location, and let people know where he was at. Right. And so we got him the help that he needed. And so he called me, he texted me. I haven't talked to him for a year. And so he texted me the other night. It was 11 o'clock my time. I was getting ready to go to bed. And so I'm like, whew, right. So I get asked all the time, what do you do when somebody calls? How do you handle that? Well, the first thing I did was I shut the TV off. I went and got my notebook and pad. I took a second to gather my thoughts because you don't know what's going to happen when you call them, right? And it can be good or bad. And so I did all that. I went to a quiet space in my house, so I wouldn't bother Lloyd, who was upstairs sleeping. And I called him back. And he'd been drinking, but I mean, he wasn't drunk or anything. But he was calling to tell me that all the times that he was going through his PTSD recovery, and it was ugly. I mean, it was bad. He would leave therapy, go back into therapy. His friends and family just had enough of him. Of course, I wasn't there. So I'm in Virginia. He's in Missouri. So I didn't see all the things that maybe they saw. But every time he called me, I would answer the phone and talk to him. I do that to anybody who calls or reaches out to me. Even on social media, I've reached out to people before. Mm-hmm. But he said, and he said, there was 3 times that you picked up the phone and you saved my life. Ooh. And he said that, he's married now. He's very happy. Matter of fact, I'm going to go to Missouri in a couple of weeks and we're going to go have dinner with him and his new wife. They've been married a year now. And he just wanted to thank me for doing that. And so that really got me thinking about, how do you handle it when you get the call, right? What are some good tips that I can give people if they get somebody calling and they're in crisis? And so, of course, the first thing I do is what I talked about is I give them my full attention. But the reason I have a notebook and pad, and I tell people this all the time, and Dave, you can back me up on this, is when you call somebody, the second they answer the phone, they're going to be highly emotional. Yeah. And they may be very erratic and stuff. And what I try to do is not interrupt them. Listening to them. Yeah. And then I try to ascertain as much information out of that initial conversation that I can get from them. That's why I'm writing down notes as they're speaking, because, sometimes it moves very fast. And if they're drunk or if they're inebriated, it's kind of hard to understand. And I tell people that, it's tough, but try not to fix their problem. Listen to them first. Find out if they're suicidal, if they're just having a bad day, if it's just because of the alcohol or whatever. Then as a conversation matures, then you can decide what your next thing is going to be. What kind of help are you going to get them? Are you going to continue to listen to them? Are you going to have to, 3-way dial 911 in or 988? The first thing I do is find out their location. Yeah. And I don't ask them where they're at. I do it by roundabout questions. Hey, what's going on? Are you out on town or, whatever, however the conversation flows, I try to find out the location. Because that's important, because if you get the location and if something happens, you get cut off, they don't call you back, then you can call 911 and let them know where they're at. Help and welfare check. Try to get the help, find out what's going on. And then usually after that, I start just having a heartfelt conversation to kind of figure out, where they're at and what they're thinking, and, whether or not I need to make that hard call, of course, calling 911. And of course, now you can call 988 to try to get them help. Or, do I need to, I have good friends of mine that are licensed clinical social workers or who have foundations that help people. In my mind, I start thinking about ways to get them help. But that's never easy to do when you get that phone call. It's a highly stressed for everybody, for you and for me also, and for people taking the call. It's very stressful. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about tomorrow in my Mental Health Minute is after you're done and that person's safe, you need to allow yourself time also to decompress from the situation, because that was a stressful situation for you. And I think for a lot of times people forget to do that. And I think that's a very important aspect to, and if you need to talk to somebody, then absolutely go and talk to somebody, because, that might have brought up, memories and experience that you had yourself. And so you just want to be able to make sure that you're able to handle that also. And, because you want to be there for your friends and your buddies or whatever. What are your thoughts on that, Dave?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I've personally never quite been in this situation where, gun to the head but I've received calls, and individuals in a pretty depressed state. And I think the most important is listen and not try to fix the problem. Yeah. Because if they're calling you, they didn't pull the trigger. Yeah. So they're calling you because they want to give you information. All right. They are crying out for help, which is a good thing, obviously. Just hear them out. And then obviously, like you said, escalated if it needs to be escalated. I thankfully have never been in that situation, but let me bring it back real quick and rewind it. Answering your phone, I think, is the most important. Like if my phone rings at 2 a.m, maybe it's indoctrinated by the military, like just, you got to answer, maybe when your soldier's messed up, but answer your phone and always be available.
Yeah.
We've had some situations in VTT official when we first started. We had to call the police because this guy was just posting, everybody was messaging him, and then he just stopped responding, but we knew where he was at. So we had to do a health and welfare check, It's a tough one, man. And then like you said too, I agree with that it could bring up some memories for yourself as well, and could cause some issues. So my thing is answer your phone, be there for your battle buddy, and check in on your battle buddies. Like I get it, not every day, but once a week, do a buddy check, Like you see them on Facebook, and it's sad because, just a couple of soldiers that we lost in the 82nd that committed suicide. Facebook, everything's good, family, everything's good. And the next day you hear they, committed suicide. Yeah. Like there were no signs. They're posting pictures of their kids, enjoying school, straight A's, good grades, whatever. And then they're gone. And you're like, well, maybe I should have checked in on him a little bit.
Well, that's the tough part. Cause had I completed, my family would have said the same thing.
Yep.
When my brother even talked about that on the documentary, but he said, there may be some little signs, but there was nothing that ever would have, because I didn't give anything away and I didn't do all that stuff. I kept it all to myself. One thing I talk about is I wasn't brave enough to pick up the phone and call somebody, and I didn't. So, so I think that's important. And I think, just to be there, unless you're a licensed clinical social worker, a psychologist, psychiatrist, or if that's something you do, and like they teach us in ACE training and MRT training, just listen to them and try to figure out how you need to escalate it. And if you're good friends with them, it's tough, especially when the substance abuse is part of it. It makes it even harder because, and I can't but after a while, family and friends that are around them all the time, they get tired of it. They get worn.
Brings them down too. Yeah. I mean, it destroys not just that individual, but it just destroys everybody around them, especially when substance abuse. That's a tough one. It
is a tough one. It's a hard one to break. But, like I talk about all the time is, once you can get through that, your life can be so much better and go on to do so many great things. That's why I post, all the things that I post on social media, because I think it's important. I think social media gets a bad rep sometimes. I think it can be used for a lot of good. I talk about the app EarKick, and it's the best mental health app that I've ever come across. And I use it daily for journaling and other stuff. And they got a great program on there for breathing exercises and a great anxiety video. And it's free. And they just won some big award in 2023, but they're out of Switzerland. The lady's been on my show a couple of times. And, and it's for anybody of any age. It can be used for kids and grown-ups alike. And it's kind of geared to it. But one thing I like about EarKick is they have a little panda bear that comes up after you type in whatever you journal. Mm-hmm. Based on what you type, he gives you advice. Oh, well, it's great that you've been sleeping or you've been working a lot, but, please take time for yourself or whatever. And then that comes up. Well, now with the update, so let's say you put in there that, like we talked about just a minute ago, I had a buddy of mine call and he was in a bad situation, but I got him help, but I'm a little stressed out about that. That panda will remember that. And a week later, it'll ask you, how are you doing with that? Or a couple of days later. So it's pretty amazing, the AI they built into this free app.
Interesting. EarKick,
just like it sounds like, EARKICK. It's free. Like I said, they don't sponsor my show. They don't have anything to do with me other than the fact that
you don't get any kickbacks from just advertising that.
yeah. I just, but I do that. If
of course.
Good, I think it helps.
And it works. Why not? It works.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, it's just like solar. I love solar. I mean, I'll talk anybody zero about solar and power walls. To include Danny, he put the solar in my house at Solar for Virginia. But I think it's important. And, one thing we talked about early on is having the different tools in your toolbox. And so, some of the things I posted last week on Mental Health Minute was about laughter, right? Because laughter is like the best medicine. I went to I don't know if you saw it, Dave, but I went to the dermatologist and I had some I don't know, some shit going on. Oh,
I saw the video, but
some stuff going on in my head, right? And so they wanted to do like a chemical peel, and I wasn't up for that. Mm-hmm. And so she said I just needed to take, exfoliate, and I had no idea what she was talking about. Exfoliating and all this other stuff. And I should have done a video of me trying to put the stupid mask on at night because it was all sliding off my face and everything. But I did it, and it's clearing up some. So, but I made a video about
that forehead's looking good, brother.
I know. That's why I look so much. That's why I look like 20 now. Yeah. But it was funny, and so I made a video about that on my Mental Health Minute because it made me laugh. And I said, just for today, think about something silly, just to make yourself laugh.
Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, it is important. But, if you guys watch the VTT show and other stuff, one thing that Dave, and I'm big into the conspiracy theories. Ooh. And I don't know if you saw the last, I'm going to bring it up on my Instagram. Hang on a second. The last thing that I interviewed you about the guy who's, that's so funny because I pop it up and he pops up right on here, right? The guy that he found his grandfather's trunk and he was a monster slayer going back tied in with the Vatican Church and everything. Oh, did you follow him on the link that I sent you?
No, I did not.
He posted videos about it, and it's an amazing story that this guy has, and he's got the documents, and he shows documents and pictures of everything. And so in these videos, he talks about the Men in Black.
Oh, snap.
Yes.
I got to check that out.
That's why I sent it to you. So you need to check that link out.
I need to check that. There's too much going on with conspiracies right now. And I don't want to get off topic, but like the UFO thing that were, these objects that were shooting out of the sky and everything. And we still haven't identified the wreckage of 3 of them. But like, what do you believe anymore? Yeah. Like what's really going on? I don't know. It's wild, but I'll have to check that link out.
But he talks about fairies. He talks about
fairies.
Yeah, vampires that helped his grandfather slay. But I'm trying to figure out. I don't remember what's the name of the. I'll have to pull up.
Yeah, send me that link.
What they called the sect that he was in. But he's got pictures. He's got the old. He found this trunk underneath the house, but he's got the old vampire kits that they would use in different monsters. And he talks about going to different realms to kill some monster off of the Greek coast and mermaids that came and saved his life because the monster was tormenting them too. And it will freak you out a little bit though when you start, because he says that in his house, he inherited his house from his grandfather. He's kind of estranged from the family. Okay. And he didn't know, and he started finding all these strange stuff around the house because his grandmother,
all these artifacts and stuff. Yeah.
Well, he had a medium come in, and the medium says, "I feel like this trunk," because he found out about the trunk through some books that he found, but he couldn't find the trunk. And she says, "I think it's underneath the house." And she told him where it was at, and he crawled underneath the house and found the trunk. And so this so he posts stories about it on his Instagram. And it says, I think his handle is the heir of the monster slayers. And then he has videos of vampires that poke out in his house and different stuff. But in his readings, he's put different things throughout his house to protect his family.
Whoa.
When you dive into it and he gets into
I will.
Black. I think that might have been the link I sent you. I don't know, but I'll send you the link again. I'll share it to you. But it's a pretty incredible story, and he tells stories and makes videos of. Now in this one he's talking about the book and the different tools and stuff that they use in this video.
I 100% believe in the Men in Black.
And he's got this is, you can't see it, but it's writings that he's talking about, and he's talking about all these different monsters and stuff that they had killed, and so each story. And
so this is like a real live Witcher. Huh? The Witcher, yeah.
And then he's got some other strange things coming up, and he's trying to reach out to one of the vampires or something to help his grandfather defeat some other vampires. But then they got this like fairy tree that's growing in their yard that was gifted to them, and they got this big tree that's growing in the yard and it's supposed to protect them. And so he talks about that.
Wow,
it's an incredible, but.
I'll go down that rabbit hole. I'll check it out because I do believe in the Men in Black for sure. Oh yeah, I think that's just like the CIA or some secret group, you know, because every time there's like UFO sightings and like reportings of UFOs and people reporting it, some people talk about men in suits that show up, you know, to tell them to either be quiet or, you know, something's going to happen, things of that nature. So I do believe that they exist. But I just think it's like the CIA probably, or like,
probably could be, who knows. But I mean, this is, and he talks about, it goes back, I guess, centuries that his family has done that. It goes almost back to the Crusades. Wow. That they had done it. He's got this whole history in the book and the text, and you can tell it's, I mean, the stuff that he shows is very old, but it's interesting as heck.
I'm gonna check that out.
And so that you can jump into the conspiracies with that. And if anybody wants to find it on, and I only know him on Instagram, so it's the Heir of Monster Slayers.
The Heir of Monster
Follow
Slayers.
him, but I mean, he has some really, he posts some crazy videos that will really make you think,
So he's actually posting real videos of like stuff happening in his house.
Yeah. And
you think it's fake, or you think it's like?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's creepy.
Wow.
You know, it's just like my brother, right? My brother remember the video that we showed of the orb that came up from underneath this house and came into a person and walked out.
Yeah.
We had it on video because his brother kept hearing noises.
Yeah.
And now he hasn't heard her. It comes every couple of months. He hears noises and he sticks his camera down there, and he's caught that orb twice now, coming and going into his house, which is crazy. So that's.
You have like a camera set up in like the attic or something. There's a video.
It's underneath his. It's underneath his back porch.
Underneath his back porch. Okay.
Which leads into his basement. Which, you know, his house was built in 1908. So that used to be, you know, the basements back then where they shoved in the coal or the ice or whatever. So it's pretty interesting. So we'll be there in a couple of weeks. So we'll see if the ghost comes back. We'll have to check it out. But
you got to take a Ouija board with you, Cliff.
I know, right? that was an interesting video. And that was that. And of course, you know, we're not too nervous about ghosts. Now my wife won't stay at the house no more.
I don't blame her.
You tell a ghost story, she won't stay there. If I told her, hey, honey, in our home, I thought I saw something, she'd be calling the moving truck tomorrow.
Yeah. I feel like you can tell though, like, cause I believe in ghosts and stuff. I used to have a Ouija board when I was younger. And, I can tell the story real quick, I guess. It was one of my best friends. Shout out to Charlie, who watches the show. And, shout out to Mishael, which was one of my other friends. We used to play it in the living room. Yeah, in our house, and we'd roll down the blinds because it was in Germany. So all the houses have blinds that you roll down at night. Yeah. And we turn on a candle, and it would just be us, and we'd have our fingers on this board on the little plastic piece that, you know, goes to the letters and stuff. Yeah. And we used to talk to this ghost. Apparently, his name was Ham, and he died in World War II. And like, you used to feel literally cold air coming up. Yeah. When we were talking. And my cat, I had a big Persian cat that would just go nuts and start running around in the living room. Oh, wow. And then once we were like, hey, give us a sign if you're real. And then the light turned on and off. And after that, we never, ever touched it again.
You never did that. Did you ever do that thing where you have somebody lay down and you circle them and you do light as a feather where you pick them up with two fingers or whatever? Yeah, we did all that.
Never again. We just threw it away. And we're like, all right, this is, you know, and he wasn't a bad ghost, but like the light just doesn't turn on and off. That just doesn't happen right in that moment. Like, that's not a coincidence. My dad wasn't home. My mom wasn't home, like playing tricks on us. So I was like, never again. Never. Never.
Hey, if anybody's listening, if you guys get a good ghost story, post it in the comments.
Yeah.
Tell everybody about it. But yeah, you know, so the Heir of a Monster Slayer. I'll send that to you. You have to check it out. But it is pretty interesting. But you know, as we're here talking, and we're gonna wrap it up here in a little bit. But I have to go get Lloyd from school. I got a hard stop time, but
it's our retirement life, huh?
I know, right?
I love it though, because I do that too now in the mornings. I get the kids ready. Yeah. And I send them off to school, and it's like, it's the simple things, the things that I never did. No. Because you always know the Army, we say family, and Army always came first with everything. And then you got to be at work super early anyway to be in.
Yeah, they were still sleeping when I left for work, and a lot of times they were getting ready to go to bed when I came home.
But now I'm like, getting lunches squared away, driving kids to school. Yeah. It's good though. It's good.
Lloyd gets up and I say, hey, what do you want for breakfast that morning? He'll either want an omelet or a cheese burrito or cereal, whatever he wants, I'll fix for him. And then I make his lunch every day. He can eat lunch. He goes to a private school, but he can eat lunch at that school. But he wants to have a lunch, so I make his lunch. And so you're right. So it is something that we missed out on growing up. And I'm happy that I get to have that experience, right?
100%.
19, so I didn't get that with him, but Lloyd's 8, so I get to have that with him, and it's nice, and so
it really is,
and it's amazing how,
and it gives us a purpose, right? It gives us something to do, because that's always, I feel like when getting out, I went through a little bit of a rough.
I think everybody.
I wouldn't say it was like extremely rough, but I did there for a second when I knew, all right, it's coming, I'm done, like. Lots of responsibility in regards to work, not putting the uniform on anymore. Should I stay in? Kind of second guessing it, that sense of purpose, partially going through an identity crisis, all the things that we've talked about on our show for the last 2 years. I'm like, it's not going to affect me because, like you said earlier, I already had the tools. People have given me tools to put into my kit bag. But it hit me hard for like a week or two. I was just like, kind of like, what's my purpose now? Yeah. Obviously I'm rocking and rolling.
Well, it becomes your identity. It's like, so when I retired, I grew a beard and I grew my hair long, and I did a thing on it. And I was like, well, that I thought the military was my identity. So I thought I had to get away from that. Right. So that's why I grew the beard and my hair long. What I realized is that, no, that wasn't, military wasn't my identity. And so that's why I just shaved everything. I'll cut my hair short again, because this is me. That wasn't me. But it's a tough transition to make. And even though if you think you're ready for it, if you think you are as prepared as you are, you're not. Yeah. And I talk about this quite a bit with people is, they always say, just like you said, find a sense of purpose.
Yes.
And you have to put yourself in a routine, right? So and we're lucky, right, Dave? So we get up, we get the kids ready for school. The kid goes off to school. You and I both work out. So, I usually going to go do yoga, or I'm going to go down to the gym and work out, or go run. I do something. And then, of course, I 16-hour fast. So then when I get back done working out, then I cook something to eat. And generally after that, it's doing my social media post or getting ready for the show or anything else. And, by the time all that's done, then it's time to go get Lloyd from school. And then it's, cook dinner, because I'm here alone. So I'm mom and dad right now. And so it's cook dinner, get all that ready. And then it's all the night stuff. And then you just, repeat the next day. And so it's a lot of fun to have the ability to do it. So for anybody who was in the military, who's gotten out, or who just can't find that sense of purpose, try to find something you liked, and we play video games. I got 2 PS5.
Get a hobby, something. Yeah.
Something. Yeah. And don't be too worried if you're not, but here's the hardest thing I had to do. When I traveled after I retired from the military, I had to remind myself I didn't have to rush to be anywhere.
Right.
Right. Because when you go TDY, what do? You show up, you do your job, and then you go back home.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. Mm-hmm. So like when I came out to Colorado last year,
I don't have to let the military know that I'm traveling, right?
Right.
I don't need to put in a
couple of days, right? Because I didn't have to. But it took me a minute to think about. I don't have to rush back.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about running back to the room at night and getting on the computer and doing 6 hours of work or my regular job stuff or whatever. And so that was hard for me to kind of shut that off.
Yeah.
And I think,
so it was for me. Yeah. Because recruiting was so fast paced,
Yes.
Obviously 82nd, because I went from being airborne infantry, multiple deployments, and then transition into recruiting. And I always used to laugh about recruiters, but I found, I respect
that's a tough
the
job.
Individuals that, because you go from hero to zero real quick, or hero to, zero to hero, because it just never stops. It's consistent, every month. All right, you just made mission. Now here's your numbers again for the next month. And then to stay motivated in that field. And then you got to motivate an entire company. Yeah. And provide purpose to them. It's a stressful job. It was extremely stressful. So then not doing that anymore was like, whew.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. Now what's next? I got my real estate license now, as you know. Yeah. So I'm rocking and rolling in that. I have a blast with that. So
And you sold the property, right? Because I think I saw a post.
Yeah, well, it's under contract. Okay.
Oh, nice. So well, good. So you didn't sell. So I don't want to jinx it. So it's under contract. Only under contract in the world.
I'll post a sold, hopefully on the 1st.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's awesome that you're able to, transition into another career. And that's Megan's what your wife does also. She's
a rock star. Yeah. She's been in it for 7.5 years. She runs her own team. She is part of, for anybody that's watching, she did partner up with DOD. So she is a SkillBridge partner. For those of you who don't know what SkillBridge is, it's prior to ETSing or retiring out of the military, you can partner up with a company that's a SkillBridge partner. Oh, and nice. You can do a free internship with them. So you're still getting paid by the Army. Yeah. You do an internship with them. They're not allowed to pay you. And then you just still get paid by
the Army. So it's not like
correct. And then at the end, they can say, hey, we're going to hire you, or you're not a good fit for us. So I did SkillBridge with my wife in her real estate team. Yeah. And I got my license during that time and everything. It's a great program and underutilized, super easy to sign up for. So if you're out in Arizona and you want to do real estate,
you need to have her come on the show sometime and talk about that, because I think that's, that's important. That goes along with mental health. It's another thing that you can go, another career you can look at doing. Yeah. And how many people don't know about the SkillBridge program?
Yeah. It's a great program. Great program. And most units, most battalion commanders, they'll sign off on it. Why wouldn't they? Especially for somebody who's done 20 years and about to retire, so you can do it up to 6 months. But that's usually, you want to do it like 4 or 5 months and then, take your 30 days of terminal leave or whatever.
Yeah.
But altogether you can do 6 months
and stuff too.
Yeah. Great program.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, we're going to wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. It's been a great show. Dave, thanks for taking time out of your busy day. I know we talked about this 6 months to have you on the show, but thanks for coming on. And I'm going to send you the link to the Heir of the Monster Slayers. And maybe we can talk about that next time, or if I'm on VTT one time, we can talk about that with the conspiracy theories and stuff. But hey, listen up. I want to thank everybody for tuning into the show. Please remember that you can catch my podcast now on Wreaths Across America Radio at Fridays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 10 p.m. It's super easy to find. It's on the iHeart Radio app, the Audacy app, or the TuneIn app, and you just search Wreath, and Wreaths Across America will come up. One thing I want to talk about too is, I'm wearing the VTT Quit Being a Triggered Pansy shirt tonight. Dave's got the only infantry shirt on. You can get those at VTT store.
Shop.veterantrashtalk.com or gruntworksclothing.com. Yep. Right. Yes, sir.
I always figured Gruntworks. I got that. Matter of fact, Gruntworks made this t-shirt, my Veterans Trash Talk t-shirt. It's got my Mustang on it. But, one thing I say about this t-shirt, it's a t-shirt that could save a life because it does have the crisis number on the back. Love it. The 741 to 741 number. That's important. But also, I'll share the link to VTT's Wreaths Across America link, where you can go on and donate wreaths. If you do donate 5 or more wreaths, I'll give you a shout out on the radio program the following week. But thanks to everybody for tuning in. You guys have a great evening and take care.
Deuces. See you Saturday.